And we're back. Hello, everybody. I am Corey Besmer, your host of the SOP. We're on episode 7 of the Soul Original Podcast, and today's guest is Joe CICCOLO. Yes, that is an awesome name that he has. But Joe CICCOLO is the founder and president of BitAML. And today's episode, we dive into crypto, what it is, what it means, what it does, what it means for the future. There's been, it's been around a long time, but I feel like people are just waking up to it. I hadn't heard of it till I think a few years ago, but it's big. I've got some Dogecoin still. I asked Joe about that, if there's any future for it. Still holding out hope. He was probably so annoyed by that, but he's a genius, and I will leave it at that until our conversation. So, but thanks for listening in. Make sure to leave a review. Got to ask every time. Takes you, 10 seconds, 5 stars, baby. And, we'll start climbing those charts. But yeah, leave a review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever. It really helps. Really helps the visibility of this thing. Help me grow it. And guys, please, it's free. It's free. All right. So go ahead and do that. And if you're not watching this on YouTube, this podcast is on YouTube. And my YouTube channel where you can watch that is Soul Original Media, youtube.com/@SOUL Original Media. So again, youtube.com/@SOUL Original Media. So go ahead and subscribe there. Catch up on all the podcasts and see some of my work that I've done recently too. And just have some fun. And have fun listening to the rest of this episode. Again, thanks for listening. And here is episode 7 with Joe CICCOLO. Joe CICCOLO, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, glad to have you in here. I think we met, actually we were working in the same co-working space for a while.
Right.
Studio co-working, I think that's where we first met. But you are in the crypto space. Your company is BitAML, right? So tell us a little bit about you, your company, how long you've been in the area.
Sure, yeah. So BitAML, we provide regulatory compliance consulting to the crypto space. Since launch in 2015, we've worked with hundreds of crypto companies, big and small, helping to understand and comply with various different federal and state regulatory matters, including licensure with anti-money laundering, cybersecurity, business continuity, disaster recovery, sort of the raft of risk management related disciplines. We help to understand what their requirements are, put policies in place, and ultimately put them in the best position to win and be compliant at the state and federal level. So we got into crypto in 2015, super early stages of the ecosystem itself. You can always get in earlier, as we say in the crypto space, but I feel like I was in the early phases, and a lot has changed over the past 8+ years since I've been in the space. You asked about California. Right. I relocated here, both my business and my family, back in 2018. Gotcha. So love Northern California, love the area we're in. Downstate Illinois. So I lived in downstate Illinois. I worked for a large financial institution there for a period of several years. And originally I come from the East Coast. I grew up in Boston, Massachusetts.
Okay.
Although they say I've lost my accent somewhere along the way, perhaps in the Midwest or on my move out here to California. Gotcha. I seem to have lost my accent.
Gradually lost that Boston accent.
That's right. It's a little overplayed.
Probably sounded really bad.
Yeah, a little overplayed in the media, but I get a chuckle every time I see or hear someone with that expression on TV.
Have you been back does it come back to you at all when you visit Boston?
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes it comes out at family functions when I'm back in the Northeast visiting friends and family. But for the most part, I think I've transitioned into sort of this very even-keeled, non-accent accent.
Yeah, you're blending in with us Californians very well. I would have never known.
There we go. I hide it well, I guess.
Yeah. Well, cool. So 2015 in crypto, seems really early, I think, for most people because I feel like just now it's like you're hearing about it more and more. And a lot of people still don't know, what exactly it is. So I wanted to start there just for our viewers. Explain to us, what is crypto? And like the great Michael Scott would say, I don't know if you're an Office fan, but
Oh, sure.
explain it to me like I'm 5. What in the world is crypto?
Sure, I'll do my best. So in short, it's a method for moving money. It's a method for storing value. Cryptocurrency is completely decentralized from the traditional financial system that we know. So when we think about money we think is tied to government, right? Government issued money, what we call fiat. That's not the case in crypto. It's a completely self-contained ecosystem for transacting and storing value that is not tied to central banks. It's not tied to banks themselves, and it's certainly not tied to government. And so it's a way for folks to instantaneously or near instantaneously send funds anywhere in the world in a matter of moments. And what I really like about cryptocurrency and Bitcoin specifically is Bitcoin doesn't care who you are, what you look like, where you live, what your religious affiliation is, what your politics are. All it cares about is the transaction good. Do you have a wallet, destination wallet address that is good? And do you have a device that is connected to the internet? And you have a wallet that's able to receive that funds? That's it. The transaction goes through.
Right.
There's no credit score. There's no political score. It doesn't really matter, again, who you are or where you're located. And it's absent that control from government. To a lot of people, that looks like a bug, but it's much more of a feature. And are you going to get bad actors that use it? Of course you are. But you're going to get many more good actors. And that's what we have in our space, many more good actors, folks that are just trying to send funds. Perhaps it's an immigrant family trying to send funds back home, or someone involved in international trade. They're trying to effect a transaction cross-border, and they're looking to do so in a timely fashion and save on the cost of transacting and moving funds, because it costs a lot of money to move money.
Yeah, sure. Awesome. And Bitcoin is one type of cryptocurrency, correct? And the most popular?
Sure, by far the most popular cryptocurrency. It is the first cryptocurrency, so it has first mover advantage. It has the ability to build up that trust. It's been reliable for so long. There are literally thousands of coins out there, the vast majority of which are someone's pet project or perhaps an idea that never really got off the ground. Once you get past maybe the top 5-10 coins, after that it drops off dramatically as to whether or not that coin is going to have some sort of market viability long term. Yeah,
and why are there so many? And who are these people that are creating their own coin, as they're called, right?
Sure, yeah, creating their own crypto, creating their own coins. A lot of it is hobbyist enthusiasts that are doing it much more for the opportunity to said they have done something, or they think perhaps there's a utility or a use case that they can prove out. Like I said, most of them are put in more of the hobbyist and enthusiast categories, and some doing it just as a joke or just wanting to put it out there and see what happens. There's really not an opportunity to make a lot of money issuing a coin. Bitcoin, again, having that first mover advantage far surpasses all of the other coins, because you have to build trust, right? If you're going to build a network, right, with Bitcoin, it's a little bit different. With the proof of work, you have to build up a mining network, and you really have to get people behind it, using it, and proving its use case. So if you're bringing out
Bitcoin has done a great job of doing that.
Absolutely,
for the most part, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Maybe Bitcoin needs a PR department, but other than that, it's really proven itself in how it works as a utility. But with the other coins, if you're launching another coin, you have to gain trust, and you have to, in a sense, prove that you are, some percentage better than another coin out there, because folks would sort of say, well, why would I use Joe Coin when I can use Bitcoin? Bitcoin's reliable. I can see the
and reliable in terms of transfers of the money going through, and what would be what would cause distrust?
Distrust, well, some of the cryptos we saw maybe with the ICOs or some of the other more speculative assets, there's a worry that it could be a pump and dump, or that someone maybe has pre-issued coins themselves, and there's maybe some market manipulation going on. That's what my concern would be for some of the smaller coins and those that are really at the lower end of the market. But with Bitcoin, it's proven itself to be a success story in that with reasonable surety that when you type in the characters associated with the wallet address, destination wallet address, or use a QR code, or however you get that wallet address to send it to, that you can rely upon those funds getting there in near real time. And it's proven itself over time, right? No one has said, hey, this doesn't work, or gee, the system is busted. It has proven itself and has that strong legacy of being able to facilitate these transactions without hiccups.
Awesome. And so the question I have is, like, moving forward, do you see a lot of those alternative coins besides Bitcoin? Do you see those going away, or is Bitcoin going to become like the standard in a sense? Am I even making sense with these questions?
No, well, yeah, maybe I can take it in a certain direction here.
Yeah.
So Bitcoin's market share of all the coins out there has actually grown over time, despite having all these new coins being introduced. I don't think that that's going to scare folks away from thinking innovatively and putting out new ideas for coins. In fact, maybe in some ways it's more of a call to action that says, hey, there's some opportunity out there.
Cool.
Perhaps whoever could create a coin that has some sort of utility or has some sort of unique use case. And most will look at Bitcoin and say, well, it's successful in these aspects, but I think we can have a coin that maybe does something else in terms of utility, or could provide a different type of service, or has a different type of technical architecture that we think is either better or has a separate sort of parallel use case that is a little bit different. So we're going to continue to see innovations. I think folks are still going to tinker and try to launch a coin. It is very difficult, but I think the idea that folks want to innovate and put things out there, I wholly encourage that, as long as they're doing it the right way, in a compliant way. And I'm sure we'll talk about compliance later.
Yeah.
But I think that there's a great opportunity to see what are the next coins going to be out there, and hear what their story is and what utility they provide.
Yeah. Do you see, like I've heard people say that Bitcoin, crypto could replace, all currency? Like, do you see that happening? Is that a possibility?
I don't see it replacing the U.S. dollar or replacing currency as we know it today, or banking certainly. I think it's going to be a larger part of the conversation. Right. It's another way to move money. It's certainly much more than that, but I think in the context of global, financial systems and movement of funds, it is another way to move money. As a currency on its own, I don't think it's going to replace the U.S. dollar, at least not anytime soon. Yeah. But I think we're going to start to see more of a reflection on where we are in terms of money being tied to government. It was said once by some folks in the crypto space that, just as we saw sort of the separation of church and state, we may see a separation of state and money, meaning that folks may be able to use money that is absent government authority or government oversight, and hold that currency, but still hold U.S. dollars, or still transact in U.S. dollars, or still hold property in the U.S. But at the same time, there's an opportunity to have different types of currency. In fact, if you go back several hundreds of years in history, there were many different types of currency. If you want to go even further back, beads and feathers and shells, how far back do you want to go?
Stuff,
bartering and trading, having some sort of store of value. Money being tied to government is actually a relatively new phenomenon that's only maybe 150 plus years old. If you go further back than that, the idea that there were different ways to store wealth was not uncommon, and your neighbor might have a different way of storing funds than you do. Today, if you were to ask 99.9% of the people in the U.S., well, I have a bank account, or to the extent I don't have a bank account, maybe a prepaid card, or I use the traditional U.S. monetary banking system.
Right.
And that's the end of the story. Well, now we have folks, if you go back again in time, that had different ways of storing value, and fast forward to today, there are some folks that hold a considerable amount of crypto and use that, not necessarily on a daily basis, but do use that quite frequently to transact or otherwise interact in the marketplace.
Right. So I could see that disrupting a lot in the world, I'm sure, like this currency that is, like you said, separate from government control. So I'm sure there's a lot of people excited by that, but also a lot of people pearl clutching or maybe afraid of change and stuff. And is that kind of what, you do compliance, right? Is that kind of trying to bridge the gap between everyone, just making sure everyone's compliant? Like what is it you do?
So
making sure.
Maybe a step back. I didn't mean to cut you off there.
Yeah.
Maybe a step back in terms of what we do for compliance. So there are existing rules in place at the state and federal level as to what a financial institution must do in order to comply. So if you are engaging in any sort of exchanging activities involving cryptocurrency, you're viewed by the government as a financial institution, And from that definition, under the Bank Secrecy Act, depending upon the services you offer, you may be regulated by one or more federal regulators. Then, of course, it goes down to the states as well.
Gotcha.
Generally speaking, the folks that we work with, and the vast majority of those offering exchanging services, are at least considered what's called a money transmitter. So you've probably heard of PayPal,
Right.
MoneyGram, CICCOLO. Those are money transmitters. So those same sort of regulatory frameworks are applied to crypto-related exchanges. So there's a little bit of a round peg, square hole. We have some existing frameworks in place. There's not a crypto regulatory regime, but rather in some places it's sort of retrofitted for crypto-related products and services. But by and large, it's the money transmission oversight that's applied. So we help them comply with what the rules are in terms of money transmission, both at the federal and state level. And that means having certain policies and procedures designed to protect consumers, designed to report fraudulent and illicit activity, certain record keeping, cooperation with law enforcement, and other aspects of what it means to be a compliant financial institution.
Gotcha. Is there a lot like shifting and changing with it right now just because of how new crypto is? Are there like new laws and compliances?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I think this was the year of crypto legislation, 2023.
Okay.
It was a lot of that was a knee-jerk reaction to FTX and the collapse of FTX and Silvergate Bank and Celsius, and some of the other unfortunate stories in the crypto space has led to a lot of knee-jerk legislative action. Some of which ultimately needs to be done, but maybe not in response to an event. You never want to see a knee-jerk reaction in legislation, because then it's enshrined in law. But getting back to your question, there was a lot of legislation that went through this year, 2023, that either enhanced or in some ways started off anew what regulation is in crypto. So again, this sort of round peg, square hole historically. We're trying to apply these old rules. Some states use a legislative method, passing laws to apply certain frameworks to things like stablecoins, which of course were unthinkable, several decades ago. But that
you said stable coins?
Stablecoins, yeah. So it's a type of cryptocurrency.
Gotcha.
Where the coin is backed by generally U.S. dollars or fiat, or there's some sort of 1-to-1 ratio where that coin is backed. So it's a very niche area within crypto.
What is fiat? Sorry.
So fiat is government is the sort of shorthand for government issued cryptocurrency.
Gotcha. This is like a whole different world for me. So sorry about all the small questions.
No, these questions are great.
Yeah.
We hear it all the time.
Yeah. Oh, I bet you do. I bet you probably have to educate a lot of people.
Yeah. Sometimes.
Or I mean, you probably work with more clients who are.
Sure. Yeah. Our clients
more
are
knowledgeable.
Yeah. It's B2B. We're sort of deep in the woods with our clients in the crypto chat. But when I go to sort of more, higher level business and executive functions and I'm out there in the community, I generally have to bring out the PowerPoint, the Bitcoin 101 presentation.
Need some good visuals.
Exactly. It's difficult, and it's interesting you said this because
it seems like such a nebulous thing, like crypto. You can't see it, right? In a sense, like we have dollar bills and stuff, but even like people have explained to me how you mine for cryptocurrency.
Right.
That you need, these powerful computers and all that. And it's just like, what? I don't know.
We're very guilty of using
mining these things to create something that's like that you can't touch still, right?
Yeah, it is. It's not tangible funds. But if you think about the traditional banking system, I think it's north of 90 plus, maybe even 95% of all money in circulation is in ones and zeros. It's literally on a computer.
Yeah.
We're using less and less cash every day, and I think your viewers will attest. When was the last time you went to the bank, withdrew some cash, and put it in your pocket? It's nice to have an emergency, 20 or something in your wallet just in case, but the vast majority of people don't use cash on a daily basis.
That's true.
Certainly not to the extent we did years and years ago. And as we're using less and less cash, we're moving more towards a computer-based system of keeping track of records, keeping track of ledgers. So each bank has its own ledger of who has what amount of money. Well, it's the same thing in crypto. You have an electronic ledger. We call it the blockchain, where it says who has what amount of funds. So I think that aspect is really not necessarily what trips people up. I think that their concern is, hey, there's this system on its own that we don't know too much about how it works. And if we don't know how it works, we're going to be suspicious of it.
Yeah.
I use my credit card or my debit card. I tap at the register and I get my cup of coffee in the morning. Why would I need cryptocurrency? And that's a valid question. Now, if you go over to the developing world, you don't have to explain the why of Bitcoin or stable coins. It's a way of life, right? It's a lifeline. It's more stable than their own currency. Places like Venezuela where there's runaway inflation, right? You're literally losing purchasing power. You're losing your money every day that it sits in a bank account. And so despite crypto being so volatile, it is less volatile than their own fiat currency.
Yeah, wow.
And so the use case is really proving itself out. There are literally folks on street corners that will exchange cryptocurrency in Venezuela and other developing countries where their government currency is not reliable.
Wow. That's crazy. That it's making more sense the more you're talking. So
right. I think one thing to add, I think in the U.S. we tend to think of crypto as this sort of nerd money, and it's it's a speculative asset that young people think is cool and they're going to make a bunch of money on. I want us to get away from that and really realize what the use case is and the utility is. That this is people being able to hold their own money and not having to give it to a bank or something else to hold the money. Now, I'm not advocating we all go to cryptocurrency, but I am advocating that we have a conversation about what money is and understand.
I think it's a big part of the future, for sure. And I think the younger generations are going to grow up with it as a part of their life. It's going to make more sense to them, and it's going to keep evolving and growing. And so, what would you say to entrepreneurs, business owners right now? How can they be prepared, I guess, for the changes that are coming, just that crypto is going to bring about, or if anything, what should we be aware of?
Sure. I think like any new technology, it's best to educate yourself. Find out as much information as you can about that technology. And certainly not everybody's going to run out and be involved in a crypto-related business. But as you mentioned, crypto may touch your business.
Right.
So if you are an entrepreneur and you have an e-commerce-based store, it's getting more and more popular in e-commerce platforms to accept cryptocurrency.
Sure.
One, it's a transaction that is going to go through, and you immediately have access to those funds, right? There's less worry about chargebacks like there would be with a credit card, and it opens yourself up to a new potential customer cohort that may have not otherwise patronized your platform, but for that you offer and accept cryptocurrency. And in many cases, they like that you accept crypto, but still want to hold on to their own crypto. They just happen to be fellow crypto enthusiasts who are now much more likely to buy socks from your online e-commerce store than perhaps your nearest competitor in an online platform. So there are little ways like that you can participate in the ecosystem, or tertiary services providers. Let's say you're like myself, we're a compliance consulting firm. So we don't participate in crypto in that we don't exchange or do anything like that, but we service and work with those that are actively involved in the space. So if you're an accountant, an attorney, if you're in marketing, if you have any of those sort of tertiary services, you can bring those talents into the crypto space if you understand what's all involved in the technology, how it works, who the players are, and what makes sense in that particular in your particular vocation within that marketplace. The crypto people are pretty quick to call out who's BS and who's for real. But if you do your homework and you begin to understand the space, you may open yourself up as an entrepreneur to this whole new cohort of customers you never thought you would have before. And we've seen that there's an accounting firm based in North Carolina that we talk with quite frequently. And the gentleman there is a younger entrepreneur-like thinker, and he started his own tax and accounting firm, did really well for himself, got into crypto as an enthusiast first, went down that rabbit hole, as we call it, started to offer services to crypto folks who were accumulating crypto, made a lot of money, and had to report that as they ought to Uncle Sam, and didn't really know quite what to do. And he was able to walk the walk, talk the talk, build up his book of business to the point where it's now north of 90% of his business is actually working with crypto folks that are involved in crypto, and the other 10% are just folks he's been happy to work with along the way, but is now focused and oriented towards crypto. Never thought that would be the success of his business coming out of college.
Yeah. And did you say that was one of your clients?
No, just a friend in industry that we work with and have had occasion to hear his story.
Gotcha. Awesome. Well, yeah, let me back up a bit. I feel like, there was a lot I wanted to ask about crypto in general, but let me ask you more about you.
Sure.
How did you get into the crypto space? Was there a moment that just kind of fueled your passion for it? And how did you start BitAML? Like what led to, what need did you see that led you to starting your company?
Yeah, so my background is in traditional bank compliance. So I started off
Right.
in banking, working in fraud prevention, anti-money laundering, and other areas of risk management. I first heard about crypto and in Bitcoin back in 2014 at a particular conference event. I was sitting way in the back, had an obstructed view, and there was someone up there trying to explain coins, and I could see the audience of bankers, their eyes sort of glazed over, didn't know quite what to think, and we were sort of muttering to themselves and dismissing it, which made me think that the speaker was probably onto something. If a bunch of bankers were disagreeing. And at the time I was in banking, so it was even more funny. But I sort of stepped back and said, I wonder what this is all about. I'm kind of sorry I didn't get a chance to be closer to the stage or talk to the speaker, and it really fascinated me. I wanted to learn a little bit more about this, and so I started to go down the rabbit hole, as we call it, did some Google searches, looked more into it, and
YouTube videos.
Yeah, YouTube videos. Really started to wrap my arms around it and said, this is pretty interesting. And what I noticed was a lot of folks dismissing it with just applying their own labels and their own framing of why this isn't bad, why this is bad, and why this won't work. But at the end of the day, none of them said the technology doesn't work. So the technology worked. And I said to myself, okay, if you can send money anywhere in the world to virtually anyone in the world with internet connectivity near instantaneously for next to nothing, why would this not be successful? Right. This has got to replace banking. And at the time, I'm sitting around a bunch of file cabinets in a cubicle like Dilbert, right? And there's fax machines. And this is in a bank environment saying, we're in the Stone Age. This is the future. And maybe the future is not exactly at that time what the crypto people were saying back in 2014, 2015 when we started. But I thought the future at that point was going to look much more like Bitcoin than it was like traditional banking. And so at the time, I worked for a large financial institution. I was helping to write their compliance policies and procedures, build up the compliance infrastructure. It was a really amazing opportunity, and one that really set me up for what I do today. And that's the exact same thing where I help crypto entrepreneurs set up their compliance framework.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So 2014, you said you first heard that guy on stage. You said you started your company in 2015?
Yep. Yeah, it took a year, well, a little less than a year, but about a year, at least flip over to the calendar year, doing some of my research and outreach. I went to some different meetups in the Bay Area, did some traveling, met some folks online, just started to ask some questions. And I noticed as I talked to folks in the crypto space and introduced myself and my background, which at the time was, hey, I'm involved in bank compliance. You've probably heard of Treasury and FinCEN and AML and all these other concepts of compliance. That's my wheelhouse. I'm in banking. So if you have any questions, let me know. Thinking it doesn't cost anything to answer a question. I just threw that out, and I'll be in the back by the pizza if you guys need me. And so as the events started to break up, I noticed more and more folks were coming towards me, which if anyone knows anything about compliance, usually when you see the compliance officer, everybody in the building runs the other way, right? So, but people are running towards me, so they're running into the fire. But no, it was great. I got a chance to meet some amazing people. So you saw that
there was a big need for it.
Absolutely.
Basically. And
folks weren't getting their questions answered. There are a bunch of large consulting firms that really didn't want to touch crypto, and to the extent they did, they were outpricing an entrepreneur coming in. Not their fault. That's just the business dynamic that they're in.
Right.
And we saw an opportunity at this sort of entry-level area of the market where you have an exponential number of early stage entrepreneurs, right? We can't all be Coinbase and be at the top or start close to the top. Don't get me wrong, they put in their fair share of hard work to get where they are. But most of the marketplace, as it still is today, is sort of these smaller, more modest size and entry-level entrepreneurial ventures. And we saw an opportunity to work with those folks. And fast forward to today, 8 years later, some of our best clients that have been with us the longest, they started off in a dorm room, they started off in a garage, and now they have these amazing headquarters with hundreds of employees, locations all over the world. And it's been amazing to see their growth story and to think that we're in some way some small part of that.
Yeah, definitely, man. It was because you were in the back by the pizza. It's a great tactic.
That's it.
So is that kind of how things got rolling for you? How you started getting some clientele was going to these events and just meeting and growing your network? What was it like to actually get the business going, getting clients?
Yeah, it's always, the first client is always the most difficult, right?
Yeah.
How do you break in? And you're right. You kind of alluded to it. It was paying it forward. That's the way I looked at it. I was answering questions and meeting folks on LinkedIn. I was meeting folks in person at different meetups, which were very popular in the crypto space. There's still some crypto meetups today, but not as popular as it used to be way back when. And putting myself in a position to meet folks, answer questions, keep in contact, and really see where it was going to go. I was hedging at the time, right? This is in my off time when I'm not on the clock, meeting these folks and just seeing where this goes, because I didn't know, could I turn this into a business or not? I was just curious at the time about the technology and about the people in it. And I thought, these people are cool. I want to hang out with them. I don't want to hang out with boring banksters, right? This is where I want to be. But, can I make a living doing it? Was still an open question. And as I began to pay it forward and had these conversations, it came to a point where there were two separate gentlemen, two separate companies in the space that were aspiring to launch. And they reached out to me within about a week of each other and said, hey, I really like what you're doing. Do you think you could help me write a compliance policy, answer some questions? I could retain you. You could work for us for a little bit, as your own separate LLC or own separate company. And, I thought to myself, okay, well, two within a week, it's now or never, right? This is something that I've put a lot of effort into for months. I'm either going to go now or I'm not going to go at all. And I went, and the rest is history.
Sweet.
Yeah.
History indeed. And now you seem like you're secretly a big deal. Like you're very humble, but like, don't you go and speak at a lot of these events now? Like I've seen you go into.
Yeah, absolutely. So I do speak a lot, and travel a lot, different conferences, different events. September was a very busy month for me, so a bit of a unique in that sort of living out of a suitcase, for that particular month. Boston Blockchain Week, which was super exciting. Got a chance to see some of the entrepreneurs out there in that ecosystem. Boston, of course, an amazing environment with all the higher education and just emphasis on technology within the Commonwealth. I got a chance to go to DC, speak at the National Press Club with a bunch of bankers and folks from law enforcement and regulators, of course, because we're in Washington, D.C., talking about crypto. I went to a conference in Austin, Texas, talked more about DeFi and more about some of the use cases for Ethereum and other cryptocurrencies outside of Bitcoin. So real amazing opportunity. I really enjoy and relish the opportunity to share my knowledge and work with others. I'm in the compliance field, and so if we're going to be successful in the crypto space, we have to be compliant. We have to know what the rules are, understand them, and what we need to do in order for this to grow and be successful long term. So, to me, it's just a no-brainer. Is it great for business? Yeah, absolutely, but it's even better for the overall ecosystem.
Sweet. Well, how did that happen? Like, when was your first speaking engagement? And
my
how has that been? Like, are you naturally, do you like being on stage? A lot of people don't.
Yeah, I in some ways I'm a recovering introvert. I was very much an introvert. When you get into compliance, you tend to be you have your own sort of world and you process things, you think analytically, and you're not really much more on the business development. You think of sales and business development folks. They're the ones out there and shaking hands and going to steak dinners. And I was I just want to analyze things and I want to be part of the compliance process. And so when you own your own business, you are the sales team, at least initially, before you have a chance to hire others to help you out if you're in that position. But as I went forward, I sort of had to force myself to be this extrovert. And it turns out I'm pretty good at it, right? It took a while, but some folks bloom later on in life, and that was the case for me. You asked about the first speaking experience. It was pretty interesting. It was back in Chicago, living in Illinois at the time, and I went up to Chicago for a conference. It was back in 2015. I had just launched, and I was trying to just sending out emails. Hey, I'd love to speak at your conference. I had nothing prepared, nothing really interesting to say at the time. I just wanted to get my name and brand out there and connect with folks. And the organizer wrote back and said, we have an opening for a moderator on a panel. And I thought, this is easy, right? I'll just be a moderator. And so I typed up all these notes and everything like that. And I did an email and I connected with the speakers on the panel. And we sort of carved out a little room and some space on the side. We went over the notes and one of the panelists goes, oh, wow, you actually put some notes together? That's pretty good. Usually we just kind of get up on stage and wing it. And I said, well, I guess maybe I'm taking it a little too seriously for a crypto event. And it was a nice kind of icebreaker. And it turns out on that panel are two of the more famous legal regulatory minds in the crypto space today. Brian Klein, who's a very well-known attorney in the crypto and technology space. He's been an attorney in some very high-profile matters, both in crypto and technology. And one of the other panelists was Marco Santori, and he's I believe he's the chief legal counsel right now for Kraken, which is one of the largest and most well-known crypto exchanges. Both attorneys themselves in their own right, but the fact that I was meeting these folks so early on, and in fact, one of the first videos on YouTube that I watched about crypto was Marco Santori, then an attorney in his own practice, talking about what are some of the legal issues and some of the things folks should be thinking about in crypto. So, to see that and say, hey, this was one of the people that inspired me, to go down that rabbit hole and look a little bit further and bring my compliance contributions to the industry. It was really felt good. And then from there, I got the bug. And once you start as a moderator or as a speaker, other sort of conference circuits pick up on that, and they reach out to you, and a little bit of a snowball effect.
Get some momentum. Yeah,
absolutely.
That's great. Yeah, I mean, how has that been for your business? I mean, I would imagine that it's probably helped build your credibility and stuff, and has that helped you grow your business by having these speaking engagements?
Yeah, no, sure has. I think anytime you have an opportunity to share your voice and put a human behind this, right? So compliance seems like something so stodgy and check the box and everybody's all buttoned up, and there is a serious element to be sure. Sure. But we want to have that human behind it. We want to have that emotion. Right. We want to have someone telling stories or really making a connection, and then they get to see that authenticity on full display. And then, it's an opportunity for branding, and it's an opportunity to have some content that's out there. And I'm sure you know all about this, right? Having some content on your social media channels so folks can connect with you and have occasion to hear about you that they may not have heard about you otherwise. Because without those media opportunities, without those presentations, folks aren't going to get a chance to know you. You're relying on, hopefully they'll get to your Google page, they'll Google search you and get to your page. How many pages in is that? And really, is that the best strategy? Or is the best strategy to put yourself out there, meet folks, connect, have that presence, show them who you are, and have that person reflect and say, hey, I'd like to get to know this person. Maybe it's not necessarily that they're going to sell me something. Maybe I just want to talk to them, get to know their story, network with them, and perhaps there's an opportunity for us to collaborate maybe down the line. So not a direct sales pipeline. I never saw it that way. And it's not really a direct sales pipeline. One, you get that media presence and that opportunity. But two, it brings you in contact with other folks that you can talk with, get a chance to know, and perhaps in time they might need you, or more likely, they know someone that could use your services, or they know someone that you should meet. Hey, you should meet this person, Joe. Right? And that's more often what I get than, hey, can we do business together? And both can be just as impactful.
Yeah, and it does put that trust behind your name for people that are looking to work with you or hire you or just get to know you, and ask you some questions. Like, you obviously have a lot of experience, and you've shown it. So
8 years in Bitcoin, I'm told that's like 100 years, right? Sort of like dog years, but only more exponential. Yeah. They're like, wow, you're like 100 years old in Bitcoin years. And I said, well, thanks. Is it my gray hair? And no, that just means you've been in the space for a long time. Or in the crypto space, they'll say, oh, you're a Bitcoin OG, right? If you got in really early on. So
your Grandpa Joe.
Right. Yeah. I think in some ways those are compliments. I'll keep my antenna up, but no, I appreciate when folks recognize that it was a different landscape years ago. And not only we've stayed in business and continue to serve the marketplace more than 8 years in, but that we have all those experiences and we can reflect upon where we were as an industry, and hopefully that helps us determine where we're going.
Awesome. So what would you say, as we wrap up here, just in the next, say, 8 years, where do you see crypto changing? Where will it be? Will it be, more of an accepted currency, online, in stores? And where do you want BitAML to be? And just you as a person.
Oh gosh,
that's a really big, like, 3-pronged question, I guess. But
yeah, these futuristic questions are always difficult, right? So my crystal ball's in the shop. But no, I mean, if I look ahead on the industry more generally, I think we're going to see continued growth. We see it every year. It seems more and more folks getting involved in crypto. There are more people holding on to crypto as an investment, speculative or otherwise. There are more people doing projects that involve or intersect with crypto. I think we're going to see much more of mainstream financial services and more mainstream in general either get involved with crypto directly or indirectly, whether as a consumer or on the business side. And even some of the more traditional banks that have historically stayed away from crypto, oddly enough, are now interested in having their own Bitcoin ETF or somehow getting involved with crypto, whereas years ago they sort of poo-pooed the industry in general. So I think it's going to have much more of mainstream interest, but I think you're still going to see crypto-specific services all on their own. But I think the more traditional players are going to add crypto. But I don't see it happening the other way around. I don't see the crypto space necessarily saying, hey, let's add some mainstream banking services.
Yeah.
I don't know that it's going to go in that direction.
Right.
And for us, that's an amazing opportunity, right? That means that there's more potential clients out there, but there's also more potential for stronger regulatory scrutiny, changes in regulatory dynamics, and certainly crypto-related legislation. This year definitely was the year of crypto legislation. I think it's going to be a lot tamer next year. I think in the years ahead, crypto legislation is going to be much more focused on specific areas of crypto. And I think it's going to be less reactive or reflexive to certainly the environment we've seen post FTX.
Awesome. So last question, is there any hope for Dogecoin? Because I still have a lot. I bought in before it was, even a cent,
Oh, goodness.
Like, yeah. So I didn't even sell it when it got pumped, maybe I should have, but I was like, why not just hold on to it? Bought in for nothing. Is there any hope?
well, not financial advice, but
right.
I don't know. I think, like I said, any sort of the smaller, sort of cryptos out there are much more highly speculative in many cases.
It was created as a joke.
It was ultimately
for people who don't know, right?
Yeah. So I think if you look at it that way and say, you can sort of chalk it up to a lesson learned, or you can just hold on to it and say, well, maybe it's not getting better, maybe it's not getting worse, so maybe I'll just stick out for the long term. But yeah, I think it's important for folks to know that there is no quick strategy in crypto.
Yeah.
Right. If you're going to buy crypto, understand that it can go up and down. It's highly volatile. Right. Don't get off in the middle of the ride. It's like a roller coaster. But if you have discretionary funds and you're okay with and can absorb a loss if it all goes away tomorrow, then yeah, maybe that is something you look at as perhaps a way to have some exposure to an alternative asset class. But yeah, no, it's not a get-rich-quick strategy. And it's unfortunate. And I want to add one thing if I can.
Yeah.
Historically, what we've seen over time is more and more folks getting involved in crypto as the price is going up, particularly when the price is going up sharply. The inquiries for folks wanting to start a business in the crypto space, our phones are lighting up. We're getting more and more emails and inquiries. Seems like folks are just coming out of the woodwork wanting to get involved in crypto when the price is up. When the price is down or flatlined or depressed, historically, it's crickets. It's very quiet. And so you think intuitively it should be the other way around, right? You should be building while everything is quiet. But there is a lot of building going on in the crypto space. Awesome. It's much more on the technology side. But I think as we come out of this downturn, which I'm confident we'll see that coming into 2024, no wild predictions here, but I think the marketplace is going to come back, and we've already started to see some folks sort of peeking their head out, from being in the ground for so long and saying, hey, I think this crypto winter is over. Let's shake off this hibernation and let's get to work. Because I think we have a lot of work to do as an industry, and I think there's going to be some amazing innovation in year 2024 and beyond. Yeah.
Cool. Well, yeah. So basically, if you're interested in it, get into crypto no matter if the market's high or low, right? But don't expect to make a ton of money overnight or something, but just start building and learning, right?
Absolutely. Education is the first step. Educate yourself about crypto. And if you are going to get involved in crypto, do it in a compliant manner. Regulatory compliance is very strong, despite what you might hear in the media. There is a lot of regulatory oversight of the crypto industry and various facets of the industry. So do your homework on that. Make sure you understand what you're getting into. But yeah, if you are, as I mentioned earlier, some sort of tertiary services provider, or you already are established entrepreneur in some other area, there may be an opportunity to intersect with the crypto space or serve that crypto native audience. And it would be in your best interest to do some research on this and any other new technology that's coming out to stay on the cutting edge.
Right. Awesome. So to bring it back to Dogecoin, I still have some hope because Elon tweets about it every once in a while. But
you can light that candle every once in a while and see if it burns.
You never know what'll happen. Hey, it was supposed to be. No one would have ever thought Dogecoin would have, been anything, way back when I put some money into it even. And then all of a sudden, like, there was those few months where it got pumped, and even now it's at, I think, 6 cents or something, which
okay. Wow.
it was way below 1, not too long ago. So you never know what's going to happen. But anyways, that's about it. But where can people find you on the web, on the socials?
Yeah, no, very easy to find us online, www.bitaml.com, bitaml.com. My email address is joe@bitaml.com, so that's probably the two easiest ways to find us. We post a lot on our blog page and on our socials, which you can find on our website, access to the socials. But on our blog page, we post a lot of articles, a lot of 101 content, 101 series about crypto-related goings-on, particularly as they intersect with regulatory compliance, which of course is our wheelhouse. But we bring up and talk about general topics in crypto as well, whether that's DeFi or NFTs or mining or other different areas. So hopefully we can be a great resource. Maybe you're not starting a crypto business tomorrow, but you want to learn a little bit more about it. We're here to help, and certainly check out our blog page on our website, and certainly follow us on social media. We'd love to be a part of your world and your conversation.
Sweet. Well, yeah. Thanks for coming on the podcast, Joe.
Thanks for having me.